set up yesterday, so we didn't get here at total crack of dawn.
Oh, that's good.
So that was
That's probably always a good move if we can.
yeah, that's like little. It was very nice.
Oh, they brought.
Hmm?
How did I get this holding the squishmallow from the middle school room?
Oh.
So
Good. Okay.
just make a little.
I will make eye contact with the lights, which she is behind.
That's true. I can't see her at all. Not in the computer screen.
Staring into the sun.
Yeah.
It really does kind of feel like the sun, actually. It's pretty.
It's very bright.
I got purple dots.
Yeah, I've got a lot
I
of
know.
purple
Now
dots.
can't look up there at all.
Why did I do that?
Yeah, thanks, man.
But why did I look up there? I knew what was gonna happen.
Those lights had the audacity.
Deer.
And remember, we're gonna back off colors
Oh yeah.
off the mic. Otherwise,
Have fun, everybody.
have fun. Have fun. Do some dancing. I'm gonna dance.
Just start it. Someone has to, and it should be you.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Oh. Waiting for that sign.
All right. It's on you, girl.
Yep.
Oh, that was it? We got it?
Yeah? All right, we ready? Let's make sure I'm ready. Okay, 1, 2, ready, go. Nope. That was a psych out. 2, ready, go.
I woke up to the morning sky first. Baby blue, just like we rehearsed. When I get up off of this ground, I shake the leaves back down to the brown, 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 till I'm clean. Then I walk where I'd be shaded by the trees, by a meadow of green, for about a mile. I'm headed through town, 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 in style, with all my favorite colors, yes sir, with all my favorite colors, right on. My sisters and my brothers, see 'em like no other, all my favorite colors. It's a good day to be, a good day for me, a good day to see my favorite colors, colors. My sisters and my brothers, they see 'em like no other, all my favorite colors. Take me to the other side. Little bitty bluebirds fly. Gray clouds and white walls and blue skies. We gon' fly, feel alright. sisters and my brothers, see 'em like no other, all my favorite colors. All my favorite colors, right on. With all my favorite colors, yes ma'am. My sisters and my brothers, see 'em like no other, all my favorite colors. It's a good day to be, a good day for me, a good day to see my favorite colors, colors. My sisters and my brothers, they see 'em like no other. Oh, my favorite colors.
Woo! It is so good to be with all of you. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Sherry Kwan. I'm one of the ministers that serves this congregation. And, well, you might have been expecting today to see Reverend A.J. Van Tyne, our other minister, and he is feeling sick today. Oh. So we hope he gets better, and we hope I do a decent job about preaching about gender and power. Between you and me, I think it's going to be okay. Leading worship with me, we have Rain as our worship associate. Sarah is doing double duty, telling our story for all ages, as well as joining the rest of Orange Sky in the ministry of music. We've got our AV desk and all of you, whether you're dancing and singing or here because you need someone else to hold your spirit for an hour. It is good to be together. Here at First Unitarian, it is our mission through spiritual connection in community. We listen deeply to others and ourselves. We open to wonder and transformation, and we serve together with love and humility. If you're new or newish, I invite you to stop by the welcome desk out front to help you connect. And if you came to church today because you're worried about yourself or someone else, you're going through a hard time, or you've got something heavy on your heart, I invite you to connect with our pastoral care team. They're available online or through the week, and then Mary is standing here at the back of the sanctuary in a cream and rainbow stole. We are a community that takes care of one another. Thank you for being a part of us. So typically, our young people start our service with us and stay about 20 minutes, but today there's too much to do, and our young people do not have time for us old folks. So if you're from kindergarten to 7th grade, of course know that this is your space. You're always invited here. But Amanda is in the back and will be taking our children upstairs for special programming today. Though what Amanda doesn't know is about 5 minutes ago, before the service started, I kicked a whole bunch of people out already. So they're all up there for you, Amanda. Sorry. All right. Well, for those of us who are left behind, staying down here, I invite you to settle into your seat and take a nice, comfortable breath. Oh my God, they emerge from everywhere. There's so many more children in here than I realized. May I'm going to invite you forward to light our chalice while the rest of us will join in unison words. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
where I want to be. Pick me up and turn me around. I feel numb, born with a weak heart. I guess I must be having fun. Let's just say about it the better. Make it up as we go along. Feet on the ground, head in the sky. It's okay, I know nothing's wrong. Nothing's. Oh, I got plenty of time. Oh, you got light in your eyes, and you're standing here beside me. I love the passing of time, never for money, always for love. Cover up and say goodnight, say goodnight. Home is where I want to be, but I guess I'm already there. I come home, she lifted up her wings, guess that this must be the place. I can't tell one from another. Did I find you or you find me? There was a time before we were born. If someone else, this is where I'll be, where I'll be. Oh, we're drifting in and out. Oh, singing to my mouth. Out of all those kinds of people, you got a face with a view. I'm just an animal looking for a home, like share the same space for a minute or two. And you'll love me till my heart stops, love me till I'm dead. I will light up, I will do you, cover up the blank spots, hit me on the head. I got
My name is Rain. I use Fae and Fair pronouns, and when I was 13 for Christmas, I was gifted a eyeshadow palette, some eyeliner, and mascara, and I was so excited. I immediately started doing my makeup, terribly. As much as I want to tell you all that I am naturally gifted and amazing at this, I had to learn a lot. And the first person that ever taught me anything about it was my best friend at the time, Jacob. And if that name shocks you, it kind of shocked me too, because he's a boy. And what do boys know about makeup? Well, I was desperate because I didn't want to look like a raccoon anymore. So I let him help me, and he taught me color cohesion. Which means how to make the colors that go on my face look good on my face and not terrible. And he taught me how to do my eyeliner evenly and not all over my face. And years later, when I was questioning my gender identity, and I couldn't get past the thought of, well, girls like wearing makeup, and I love wearing makeup, so obviously I have to be one. I thought about him and how much he loved wearing it. And isn't that why we come to church? Because we believe in questioning gender norms and challenging ourselves to be our authentic
Good morning. I am Sarah Vanolis. I use she and they pronouns. I am our office manager and a very proud member of Orange Sky. But today I will be telling the story for all ages. Now, there was a big disclaimer at the beginning of service, but just in case, if there is a child or a young person or a person who is young at heart who would love to join me here on the carpet, you are more than welcome to do so. That's okay. I am going to share the story of a young boy named Julian, who is a self-proclaimed mermaid. It's a story by Jessica Love about Julian, who loves nothing more than to go swimming with his Nana. And so the two of them go swimming together, and they get on the subway, and they ride the subway home. Well, on the subway to this one particular day, it is Julian and his Nana. And Julian happens to live in a part of New York City that is close to Coney Island, and it is known for its mermaid parade. And so on this day, the subway car is full of mermaids. Beautiful women in tapestries made of silks and sequins and sparkles. They have tails and jewelry and makeup. And Julian is in so much awe of the mermaids, and his imagination runs so wild that he almost forgets that they have to get off the train. And so, in the midst of his imagination, his grandmother turns and says, "Let's go." And he thinks about them all the way home to their apartment. And then as she's unlocking the door, he turns and goes, "Nana, did you see those mermaids?" And she says, "Yes, I saw them." He goes, "I am also a mermaid." Nana doesn't really say anything to that. But they both go inside, and she looks at him and goes, "Stay out of trouble. I'm going to take a bath." Nana's not gone very long before Julian's imagination starts to get the better of him. He's looking around her apartment, and he thinks to himself, "Well, I'm a mermaid, and I think I can make my own mermaid costume." And so he starts going through Nana's plants and her fern, and he makes himself a crown. And he starts looking around. He's like, this outfit needs something else. And so he goes to Nana's bedroom, and he gets a little bit of lipstick. And he looks in the mirror, and he puts it on. Then he starts looking, and he thinks, well, now that's all that's missing is my tail. Well, he looks up in the dining room, he shoves a chair against the wall, and he takes down the curtains, wraps them around his body, and begins traipsing across the apartment. Look at me, I am a mermaid. And this goes on for a little while before Nana is done with her bath. She comes out of the bathroom and looks, and there is Julian in all of his mermaid glory. But for a moment, his heart stops. I've been caught. Oh no. And it's quiet. Before Nana goes, "Come with me." They go into her bedroom, and she pulls out a necklace, a beautiful string of pearls, and she says, "These are for you." And then she takes Julian's hand, she takes him outside, walks him down the block to the pier at Coney Island to join the mermaid parade. May this story unfold in your hearts until we are together again.
I invite you now into a moment of silence with meditation and prayer. powers that surround us and flow through us, beloved universe that holds us and everything that we hold dear. In these times of struggle, when power is abundant and yet abused in order to steal our loved ones, neighbors, and voices of peace, these times of strife between communities, friends, family, and all the in-between, we ask for patience to change, patience to grow and learn and make tomorrow better, patience to listen when our first instinct is to fight against what is said, patience to accept when we are wrong and when others find out they were too. We look for strength to face the overwhelming loud voices that wish to silence all proof of empathy and fellowship. A strength to keep going, to keep being loud enough to be heard under all this imposed anger. Strength to carry forward despite it all and find the still beating heart of joy in all of this. We ask for guidance as we look inward to find the pathway to a better version of ourselves, as we fight things larger than others can see in the recesses of our mind. Guidance for accepting the parts of ourselves that may be difficult to face right now, but will turn us into exactly what we need to be. Wanting protection for us and our community as we face the horrors those empowered deal out. Protection for trans, non-binary, gender fluid, and gender non-conforming siblings as they face the onslaught of violence and attempted erasure of their existence. Protection for our immigrant and non-white beloveds as they face the continued brutality of this country that was supposed to offer better. Dearest ones, keepers of love and light, creators of joy and movement, we look to you for all of this. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so. We enter now into ritual to bring what is on our hearts and lay it at the altar of community and spirit, honoring the complexities of life. Bring to mind whatever grief, growth, or gratitude is alive within you. Online, you are invited to share in the chat. And here in the sanctuary, you are invited forward to light a candle. There's a basket of electric candles in the back if you prefer to use those. If you would like an usher to bring a candle to you, please raise your hand. May we now share in this ritual of community care and witness to one another's hearts. All that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world is held in this community and by the larger love that holds us all, always. Amen.
Sometimes your life feels like a broken roller coaster, 1,000 useless moving parts. Sometimes you spend your nights too scared of getting closer, hiding out in the backseat of your car. You tell yourself it's raining, the clouds are in your head. You tell yourself it's better to jump before you fall again, before you lose it all again. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your hair. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees, yeah, look up. Mondays aren't always bright. Some days you lose the fight. But life can be beautiful if you let it be. Tomorrow keeps taunting you with all kinds of mystery. It's a blank poetry if you let it be. So don't tell yourself it's raining, the clouds are in your head. You tell yourself it's better to jump before you fall again, before you lose it all again. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your hair. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees, yeah, look up. Look up, look up. Hold on, hold on. Look up, look up, look up. Sometimes your life feels like a broken roller coaster, 1,000 useless moving parts. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your hair. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees, yeah. Look up, trouble's always gonna be there. Look up, don't let it bring you to your knees. Look up.
Seven years ago, when I was interviewing for this position, I was privileged to be invited into this room for the very first time by a member of the search team, Glenn Cook. And so I have the privilege now of inviting Glenn up to this pulpit to tell us a little bit about our ongoing capital campaign.
Thank you, Reverend Sherry. It's been a journey, a wonderful one. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My wife, Nancy, and I are long-term members of this congregation, 53 years and counting. And it's been a wonderful journey, too. But my first experience with our church came several years before we even started to attend. You see, my best friend in high school asked me to be his best man at his wedding. After I agreed to serve in this capacity, I found out that his bride was a member of this church. The wedding was so different from every other wedding I had ever been to. It was a small wedding with a few family members and friends. But what made it special was that it was held in the Susan B. Anthony Lounge in front of a warm fire burning in the fireplace. The wedding vows seemed unique and original, not the usual recitation. But what did it for me was the bride had selected music from the Broadway show West Side Story. A friend of hers then sang, "There's a Time for Us." Needless to say, it left an impression upon me. Several years later, when we had started a family, we thought about finding a church. Even though we had rejected traditional Christianity, I thought our kids could benefit from the moral teachings of religious education. Nancy, however, after spending week after week at home with our first child, craved some adult intellectual stimulation. I think that resonated with a few of you ladies. She had read a little bit about Unitarianism, so we gave it a try. And we're still here 53 years later. Thinking back over those years, I have a flood of wonderful memories. There were musical and drama productions, singing in the choir, and of course the Byfriars. Nancy coordinated the gardeners and was chair of the Con Building Appreciation Committee. We have always been proud of our ministers and members of our congregation who have spoken up for the fight for social justice. Over these many years, the church has always been here for us, to support us in times of need and to provide inspiration. However, now is the time when the church needs us. The building is in need of some major repairs, and we need all of us to pitch in. We all know that caregivers need to take care of themselves. If we want to continue doing the missions of our church, we need to take care of our infrastructure. So when members of the Capital Campaign call you, please welcome them into your home. They will explain what is needed to be done, and then please consider a generous financial contribution and give an amount that makes you feel good. Thank you very much.
Everything that our church is and everything that we do is made possible by the time, talent, and treasure that we give to our shared mission. Members and friends support this congregation financially through recurring giving, and on Sundays we also give through our shared collection. As part of the spiritual practice of generosity, 50 cents of every dollar given now will go to CLF, Worthy Now Prison Ministry. This ministry works to overcome the isolation and dehumanization of our prison system. Using Church Center is the easiest way to give, but if you're not set up with the app yet, you can also give by texting GIVE and the amount you'd like to give to the number on the screen. In the spirit of abundance and generosity, The offering will now be given and humbly received.
Hey, I hear the voice from the preacher in the back room, calling my name, and I follow just to find you. I trace a fade to a broken down television and put on the weather. And I've trained myself to give up on the past, 'cause I frozen in time between hearses and caskets, lost control and I panicked at the acid test. I wanna get better. Well, my friends were getting high, chasing girls down parkway lines. I was losing my mind because the love that I gave, I wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counted seconds through the night and got carried away. Now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming in the sun, hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was lonely till I saw your face. I wanna get better, 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 better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better, 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 better. Go up to my room and there's girls on the ceiling. Cut out the picture and I'll chase that feeling of an 18-year-old who didn't know what loss was. And now I'm a stranger. And now I miss the days of a life still permanent. More than the years before I got carried away. Now I'm standing on the interstate screaming at myself, hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was lonely till I saw your face. I wanna get better, 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 better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better, 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 better. 'Cause I'm sleeping in the back of a taxi, sitting in the bedroom window, even if it's gonna kill. Woke up this morning early before my family, from this dream where she was trying to show me how life can move from the darkness. She said to get better, so I put a mullet where I should have put a helmet, and I crashed my car 'cause I wanna get carried away. And now I'm standing on the overpass screaming at myself, hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was lonely till I saw your face. I wanna get better, 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 better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better, 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 better.
Woo. That's what Reverend AJ is singing now from his sickbed. This week, watching Attorney General Pam Bondi testify before Congress, watching those elected and appointed to the highest halls of power felt like a microcosm of everything wrong. Most of the time, it was people arguing over whose turn it was to speak. And isn't this actually the question that we're living through right now? That so much that's wrong, well, sure, it's embedded in policy and power, but ultimately it's about voice. Whose voice counts? Who gets to speak? Who gets believed? Who's told, either explicitly or subtly, to be quiet? Who has learned over time to silence ourselves? Authoritarianism doesn't begin with dictators. It begins with the quiet rearranging of whose lives and whose voices matter. The reconstruction of voice. And sexism Sexism is one of authoritarianism's oldest training grounds. A few years back, answering the question essentially of what's wrong with our boys, following the pipeline into far-right ideologies of our young men, I learned that despite the wide variety of harmful ideologies that young boys are recruited into in this country, from anti-Islam to anti-Semitism to hatred and fear of immigrants, it almost always begins with misogyny. It almost always begins with the fear and shame of young boys who have been taught that girls and women owe them something, and so are asked, did someone humiliate you? Did you feel like you couldn't have asked them out? Are you a less good man than the young men around you? The root of this recruitment into what was, until recently, a radical ideological pipeline was misogyny. And now, as that radical pipeline has moved into the mainstream, as the Proud Boys have literally become ICE agents, as authoritarianism has become normalized, it hasn't lost its sexism. Authoritarianism and sexism are not separate problems. They're intertwined, interlocking systems. And authoritarianism says that power should be concentrated, that power is to be obeyed, not questioned. Sexism tells us that some voices, especially women's voices, and most certainly anyone who transgresses gender norms, these voices are less credible, less rational, less authoritative. Those voices are to be questioned. The voices of power are not. So over the past decade or so of politicians not being held accountable for treating women without dignity, it not being a real secret that politicians in the highest levels of power won't meet with women one-on-one. These denigrating moves aren't mistakes. They're not leaks. They're not messy inability to maintain your public relations. They're tests of society. Gender control is one of the first moves of authoritarianism. So a year ago, when we were first wrestling with what inauguration into this administration would look like, we preached for weeks about gender and the risk to our transgender siblings and kin among us, because when we put misogyny and sexism together with authoritarianism, we have a powerful engine where authority flows in one direction, where dissent is dismissed, and entire groups of people are trained daily to doubt our own knowing. Sexism teaches us how to accept authoritarianism in miniature, in our intimate partnerships, in our conversations, in our families, in our workplaces, in our churches. Rehearsing sexism is rehearsing authoritarianism, and it accustoms us for a world in which, when authoritarianism and tyranny shows up at large scale, it feels familiar, like something we already know. Writer Rebecca Solnit has spent years naming this dynamic, and in her book, Men Explain Things to Me, I'll say as an aside, I got this quote from Reverend AJ when he asked me to preach yesterday, but it's a good one. She describes what happens when someone assumes authority over you, not because they know more, but because the culture's decided that they should be believed. She writes, "Everything I needed to know about authoritarianism, I've learned from feminism, or rather from feminism's sharp eye when it comes to coercive control and male abusers." Now, abuse can happen in all sorts of gender dynamics, but specifically sociologist and gender violence expert Evan Stark writes in his book, Coercive Control, that this term subsumes domestic violence into a larger pattern of isolation, intimidation, and control. Violence, Stark writes, the primary harm that abusive men inflict the violence is political, not physical. It reflects the deprivation of rights and resources that are critical to personhood and citizenship. It shifts identity. It connects directly to what dictators and totalitarian regimes do to the people under their rule. It's only a matter of scale. The agenda is at all scales to control not just practical matters, but truth, history, who can speak, and what can be said. Coercive control and the sharp, critical eye of feminism aren't just about awkward conversations. It's about who's treated as a source of knowledge, who's treated as unreliable about their own lives. We see this at play when Attorney General Bondi refused to look this week, at Epstein victims during the testimony. Solnit writes about how often women are interrupted, dismissed, and not believed. She reminds us that this isn't incidental, it's structural. When some voices are trusted and others are routinely doubted, we no longer live in a democracy of voices. There's a hierarchy of credibility. And authoritarianism depends on exactly that. Authoritarianism depends immensely on our ability to say some people's truths and some people's voices do not matter. Silencing is the seed, it's the core act, and authoritarianism is the harvest. People are taught not to speak, not to trust themselves, not to challenge authority. And when all of these are true, and we say people, but specifically we mean people who do not conform to gender norms of repressive governments. We mean women, we mean children. When people are not to speak, when people are not to trust themselves, when people are not to challenge authority, we're already halfway to authoritarianism. And all of this can happen before any strong man arrives on the scene. This is our history. So let's take a digression, because history offers us other examples. And these, we don't have to go very far for them. Human societies have organized power in a variety of different ways. And just a few hours from here, in Fayetteville, New York, a young, white women's rights activist, Matilda Jocelyn Gage, for the first time in her life, experienced something different than what she had always been taught. So this was at a time when women in the United States could not vote, had limited legal identity, like who they were as a person in the eyes of the government was deeply limited, and certainly were expected to defer to their male counterparts. And Gage, a white woman, encountered something that challenged her very understanding of what was possible. She'd built relationships with the Onondaga Nation, the people of the Longhouse of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, close to here. And what she saw was not theoretical. It wasn't abstract. It was a functioning, robust society in which women held power, real authority. Women owned property, they shaped decisions, and women formed the clan of mothers, who appointed leaders and who removed leaders who were deemed untrustworthy or unfit. So you can imagine what that meant for a woman to go from living in a broader culture where women certainly were not allowed to vote, not allowed to participate in civic discourse, not allowed to lead, and then to witness a society right here where women weren't asking for power, weren't begging for a seat at the table, but already had it. So there was this profound shift for Gage, where there could exist a society where women's authority was real and expected and respected. And therefore, patriarchy, the so-called biological differences between men and women that were thought to be inevitable, were not. It was a choice, a system, a construction. And I want to be really clear here in talking about the early suffragists in this area that They didn't always stand in full solidarity with indigenous communities. There were moments of respect and moments of appropriation, moments of dismissal, and moments of real collaboration. But the Haudenosaunee Confederacy isn't a metaphor. It's a living system that's still present, and it's still shaped by the ongoing realities of colonization. But the truth remains that another way of organizing power has always existed, right here. In Haudenosaunee, governance leadership is not domination, it's responsibility. Authority is held relationally, accountably, and it's distributed. Leaders are removed if they fail the people. Decisions are shaped through listening, through deliberation, through relationship, not through silencing, not through force. And it's not perfect, but again, it's a shift. It shows us something essential, that hierarchy and domination are not the only option, right? That it's a choice that we've made here. That the silencing that protects power is a choice carefully built in this country to prepare us for authoritarianism. We hold as a counterexample the Haudenosaunee, who remind us that voices can be honored, authority can be shared, and that listening can be structured into the system itself. So if silencing is the seed for the harvest of authoritarianism in one system, listening can be the seed of something else. So I want us to take a moment, because our mission calls us to listen deeply to others and ourselves. And we do this by practicing in spiritual connection in community. We do this by excavating our own souls. And so I'm going to ask you a few questions and ask you to sit in silence and contemplate your answers to them. I don't expect you to have a full and complete answer. And in this case, I want you to know I'm not going to, in a moment, ask you to turn and tell your neighbor. So answer it as honestly as you can. Where have you learned to silence yourself? Where have you been rewarded for being agreeable instead of honest? Where have you doubted your own knowing because someone else with more confidence or authority or permission to speak spoke over you or louder? Where are you being called to speak, even if your voice shakes? And I have two other questions that are just as important. Where are you being called to listen? How might you take seriously a voice that you have been trained, consciously or not, to dismiss? Thank you for spending some time with me and these questions. The soul work of our congregation, the spiritual practice, is an interior move, one that asks us to look inside. But our faith, our Unitarian Universalism, tells us too that we are intimately connected with one another. That regardless of what's going on inside, we are connected, and that our work of excavation, of transformation, of justice, of listening This is communal work. A congregation that resists authoritarianism, well, we're not just a congregation that votes the right way. We're a congregation that practices making space for dissent. We aim to be a congregation that honors lived experience as knowledge, even when it differs from our own. We're a congregation that at our best, around tables and in meetings, notices who speaks and who doesn't. We're a congregation that on my very first week here, longtime member Glenn Cook, who you heard from earlier, marched into my office and said, "Sherry, our new church mailing system, you have to change it." Because it listed our mailing address as Mr. and Mrs. Glenn Cook. And I can't, Nancy's gonna kill me if she sees that. Nancy matters here too. We're a congregation that doubles down from last week's sex sermon just to say briefly that it really is better, fill in it as you wish, if you dare to talk and dare to listen. We're a community that asks, who is interrupted? What am I afraid to say? Who is deferred to? Whose ideas are taken up and whose are overlooked? We're a congregation that aims to, if not always succeeding, to choose to again and again redistribute voice. I hope to hear Reverend AJ's version of this sermon at some point, because when it comes to gender and power, as Reverend AJ is fond of saying, well, I'm a straight white man, so that's probably my job. By which he means the work of feminism, of gender liberation. When Reverend AJ first arrived here, I took him on a field trip on our minister's retreat. And I swear at the time it was not a power move, it was just meant to show him the best of what we have to offer locally. But I took him first to Ganondagan to show him the long and proud history here of the Haudenosaunee people and their matriarchy. And then I took him to Seneca Falls to teach him about the women's rights movement. And we looked together at a plaque that talked all about the heroism of men supporting the women's rights movement, those who showed up. And he, using the verbiage that's used to dismiss women so often, to talk about how men can't be expected to behave better than they already do. And he looked at this plaque and said, well, sure, but not all men. Unfortunately, about this, Reverend AJ was right. Not all men, not all people were into, supported, and continue to build a place where all voices are valued, where people's stories are believed. Instead, we find ourselves in a time where we are told over and over again that hierarchy is natural, that some voices matter more, that power has to be concentrated to be effective. But we know, and we build a world where that is not the only story, where that has not ever been the only story, not here, not anywhere, because there are other ways, and our spiritual work, our communal work, our urgent and important work is to decide which of these two stories we will live into and build. If silencing is the seed that authoritarianism comes from, well, there are other options. When voices rise and the truth is spoken and believed, where power is shared and held accountable, something else can grow. Something more just, something more human, something more free. May it be so. Amen.
good to have friends, huh? Thank you.
Joy is over there with her incredible clothes. She has silver silk shimmering down to her toes. Is doing the best that I can, I suppose. But that little girl dancer eventually grows. She grows. You can imagine all the times that I tried to uncover the source of the tears that you cried. Let's throw it away and just go for a ride. You say okay, but you keep it inside, and I try. I try. We want you to be happy. Don't live inside the gloom. We want you to be happy. Come step outside your room. We want you to be happy, 'cause this is your song too. I never thought I could have it so good. You were the song that my soul understood. But time is a river that flows through the woods, and it led us to places we both understood would be gone before too long. Gone before too long. When we were young, we thought life was a game. Then somebody leaves you and you're never the same. All of the places and people belong to the puzzle, but one of the pieces is gone. It's you, Joy, it's you. It's you, Joy, it's you. We want you to be happy. Don't live inside the gloom. We want you to be happy. Come step outside your room. We want you to be happy, 'cause this is your song too. Time will weather this storm. Inside together, you'll see the change. When the sun shines through, we want you to be happy. Don't live inside the gloom. We want you to be happy. Come step outside your room. We want you to be happy, 'cause this is your song too. 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 This is your song.
In a moment, we'll join our voices to extinguish our chalice together, but before that, I want to remind you that chairs of all types are valued and stacked at the end of our service. So, Rain, I'll invite you to extinguish our chalice, and I'll invite you to join me in our unison words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Within our hearts lies the light of truth, that each of our voices is important, that no matter who tries to silence us, or no matter how many times we have been lulled into the falsehood that some of our voices don't matter, our world is more beautiful and rich because all of us are in it. I love you. Now go love the world. Amen.